my honeymoon was a 49-day trip that was around the world. We left Oklahoma going east, and we came back to Oklahoma from the west. 49 days, 10 countries, like 11 or 13 cities, all in business class. Was called an A&A Round the World trip. That whole thing was, if it was cash value, would be around, or at least $100,000, and we did it all on points.
So I don't know. I'm kind of going off of a kick now, Alex, on like not telling little intro stories. I feel like no one wants to listen to me talk just about random stuff, and maybe it's just better just to get into stuff.
Did you poll the audience?
Yeah, no.
It was me. I said stop doing this.
Yeah, I was like, I just don't know if these are that interesting.
This is like our life. It's like Eric just talks about random stuff.
Yeah, mainly for me.
I know. I like tune you out.
That's where you got it fits the whole social wanting to just speak to the patients and just,
right? Yeah.
You're like, let's avoid doing the extraction as long as possible.
Yes, exactly.
What extraction? Yeah, that's not on his.
I think that's what it is.
That's not on his
How
schedule.
How do I avoid this? No.
That looks pretty good now. Yeah. Actually, I think we can probably save it.
Yeah, here. I need 5 minutes to convince myself not to do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, I thought, like, I don't know, maybe it was like a month ago, I saw a post, and I don't remember if it was on Nachos or Dental Investment Group, one of the other groups, and Roshan had posted about a trip he went to on the Maldives and how he did it all with credit card points. And I've always been one of those people that's like, I think that's super cool, but you and I have both been pretty basic with credit card stuff.
Yeah.
We'll always just rely on either... It was this Capital One Spark card that we use when we own the practices by ourselves.
Yeah.
Or now we'll use like the Chase Unlimited one. That's like I think it's 1.5 on everything.
Sounds right.
And so we've just stayed basic like that because of like, I want to know how to do it and hack it, but like, I don't want to put in the work to do it.
Yeah, the work part.
And so when I saw this post, though, it kind of got me like, okay, maybe we should talk to someone who's like done this, and maybe they can like break it down, because Roshan's really good at like taking things and just breaking them down in like a granular sense and like making them very easy for us to understand. Yeah. So
better than our because like with the 2% cash back on Capital One, it's just like, where's the gift card that I can get? That was like the biggest thing for us. It was like, okay, what cash back, what gift card? And I figured, because it was a business, it was like, oh, gift cards maybe are untraceable or something like that. Maybe like that, because I don't know like where do the points belong? Is that under the business or is that personal? I don't want to get in trouble. So it's like, oh, gift card, just like.
Can I answer that question real quick for you?
Yes, please.
So actually, credit card points are viewed as a non-taxable thing, so it does not really matter. Now, some people will say that if you use business points and you transfer them over to your personal card and then use them for personal things, that's piercing the corporate veil. But I have never once, ever once heard of an actual lawyer like saying, this is what got me to pierce the corporate veil,
Yeah.
Like, so I realistically, you could say that there is like cross-contamination between moving business points to personal, but I've never heard of it, never seen it. And I've been in the points and miles game for, a little over half a decade now. So like 7 years, and never heard anyone else talk about it. So I don't think it's an issue. It's a non-taxable thing regardless. Points are, from many judges have been said, they are not taxable income. So you can do whatever you want with it, basically.
Sweet. You chose wisely on that one.
Woo.
Yeah. So yeah, let's go into it. Can you, like, just to give some context, do you want to break down and tell like the viewers who didn't see your post on anything, like kind of what you were able to accomplish or do, and then let's just go throrough like how does a practice owner, how does a dentist, like the step-by-step on how you could do something like this? Yeah,
absolutely. So first of all, thank you for having me for something different than real estate. That's it's a little unusual, and it's been a while since I've done something that's not real estate. So I love this. It gives me a little variety in my podcast. So thank you for having me. Thank you for being flexible with the timing as well. Okay. With what I did, I went to the Maldives with my wife. We went for 5 nights in the Maldives. We had a stopover in Abu Dhabi as well. And so we had like basically 2 day trips in Abu Dhabi, one on the way there, one on the way back, and 5 complete nights and 6 days in the Maldives, and the hotels and the flights were completely free. Now, if anyone's ever gone to the Maldives or heard about the Maldives, you may stay there for free. You're still going to end up with a check at the end of the day. You know, you have to pay for food and it's incredibly expensive. I think our meals averaged around 300 to 400 bucks a person, something like that. And so, you know, there are ways to minimize that and not spend as much. But if we didn't do the points and miles, we would have been looking at the hotel itself was over $22,000 overall, the five nights, and then the flights would have been like an extra $2,000. So
Yeah,
you know we would have
geez.
been looking at about 25 grand that we didn't spend.
Wow. So you're not, going to some, 3-star hotel or anything. Like this is a nice hotel.
It's not a hostel.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the
No,
Maldives.
no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah, yeah.
The villa was half on the water, half on the beach, which was really nice. It was 1,800 square feet. It had its own pool, its own hammocks. We had direct access to the ocean. And the hotel, I don't think we've mentioned it, it's called Waldorf Astoria, which is the
Yeah.
Oh,
basically
yes.
the highest brand in the Hilton portfolio, or at least one of
Yeah.
the highest brands in the
Yeah.
Hilton portfolio.
Oh yeah, I saw.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched the video you post on there. That was like a few minutes, and
Yeah, isn't
I
it
went
was
through
nice.
like different like feelings and emotions. So like at first I was like, this is cool. I'm here. And then I started to see more and more, and you're like, here's the pool, here's this. And then I kind of got like
You get sad?
angry, a little bit jealous, like ran through that. And then you showed like the room, and I was like, oh yeah, this is like the stuff you see in the movies. And then by the end of it, I think I like went full circle, and I was like, this is cool. I'm glad he shared this. Now I need to figure out how to do it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I hated you for a good 30 seconds in the middle of that.
And it was on a Wednesday, so if you were, trying to pull out a tooth and you're like looking
Oh
at this in
yeah.
the meantime,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
got to get out of
Oh
dentistry.
yeah. That was. I actually think I watched it right before I was about to go in, and then I told the patient after that we're not doing the extraction.
Cool. Well, yeah, man. If you're ready, let's go granular.
Let's do it.
Let's break it down. So, a couple things I want to talk about is basically what at the minimum you should be looking for in terms of redemption. Then we can talk about like how you find flights and you use points for that, and then how you can find hotel bookings and use points for that, and the best ways to do those. So, the first one is like your standard redemption. You guys were talking about the Capital One Spark, which gives you 2 cents back per dollar spent. That is like the bare minimum anyone should be getting. Now, most people, especially dentists, they'll just have a normal credit card and they're getting 1 point, maybe 1.25 points per dollar, right? So you spend $1, you get a point. That's usually the standard thing is 1 cent. 1 cent back for every dollar spent on a credit card, right? So, and 1 cent back and points is 1 point. So basically, a point is a cent, right?
Okay.
So what you guys also mentioned is now you since selling is you switch to the Chase Ink Unlimited. Basically, I call the Chase Ink Unlimited and the Chase Sapphire Reserve my 1-2 punch. And before we go into the details, credit cards are huge. This is a huge game, and you can go extremely in depth, or you can go very easy. So you can take parts of what I'm going to tell you and use them, but because I don't know who the listener base is, but there are some people in the listener base that are probably going to want to like research and do what I do, which is have over 20 active credit cards.
Wow, yeah.
Or there's going to be some people in the listener base that are like, no, that's way too complicated. Just make 1 or 2 and call it a day. We're going to start with the 1-2 punch, which will be for that latter category of the easier to go with, and then showing how I did the Maldives. It'll be kind of in the middle where you'll need 3 or 4 different cards to do it, but it's not what I'm talking about, which is 20 plus cards, or it's not talking about my situation, which is like 20 plus cards. So
Wow.
is that fair?
Yeah.
Let's do
yeah.
it.
All right, so the Chase Ink Unlimited, you spend $1, you're going to get 1.5 points. And if
Yep.
we use the standard redemption of 1 cent per dollar, 1.5 points is 1.5 cents, right? So you spend $10,000, you get 10,000 points. Normally 10,000 points is $100, but because you had the Chase Ink Unlimited, you spend $10,000 and you get 15,000 points, right? And so 15,000 points is worth usually $150. Now, the next part of the 1-2 punch is the second part, which is the Chase Sapphire Reserve. There's 2 Sapphire cards. There's a Chase Sapphire Preferred and the Chase Sapphire Reserve. So we're starting with the Chase Ink Unlimited, of which there's 4 ink cards. Okay. So
Okay.
the 4 ink cards, the one that is the part of the 1-2 punch is the Chase Ink Unlimited. The Unlimited is the specific one. Then you have the Chase Sapphire Reserve. There's also a Sapphire Preferred, but that's a lower tier card and it won't give you as much benefit as what I'm about to tell you.
Okay.
So with the Chase Ink Unlimited, you spent 10,000 bucks at, let's say, Shine, right? Henry Shine, easy to spend on a single order, 10,000 bucks. And you get 15,000 points on your Chase Ink Unlimited. Now, what Chase allows you to do is move those 15,000 points immediately and for free to your Chase Sapphire Reserve.
Okay.
And by moving those 15,000 points to your Chase Sapphire Reserve, you now get to use those points with the benefits of the Chase Sapphire Reserve. Now, when you go to book a flight in the Chase portal, those 15,000 points, because they're with the Chase Sapphire Reserve, or I'm going to call it the CSR from now on, it gives you a 50% bonus. So if you have 15,000 points, normally worth $150, and you get a 50% bonus, how much do you think those $150 are worth now?
Well, now you got what,
Yeah,
22,500, right? So you got
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
225 bucks. So
Yeah.
your 15,000 points is worth 225 bucks. But remember, what did we spend to get the 15,000 points? We spent $10,000.
So you
Yeah,
over
more bang for your
2x.
buck.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you're getting
So are those
two.
transfers, are those time dependent? Like the 50% like bonus or like bump or whatever it is that all the time? Or is that,
It is. It is 100% of the time, as long as you're booking travel through the Chase portal.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
got to be travel through the Chase portal.
Okay.
So if you spend 10,000 points on your Chase Limited, basically you got $225 worth of travel, booking travel through the Chase portal with the Chase Sapphire Reserve. Does that all click and follow?
That tracks.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So that's the 1-2 punch. I basically, on anything that is just normal spend, like let's say, you're spending at Edge Endo. I remember we spent a lot at Edge Endo for our endo stuff. Henry Shine for our, just basic bread and butter. And, multiple other different kinds of companies. It's been like a year and a half since I've picked up a handpiece, so I can't remember quite all the names of the companies anymore, which is a good thing, I guess. But yeah, you spend 10,000 bucks, you're going to get $225 on travel. And we mentioned it earlier, which is this is all tax free. This is not like taxable income. Many judges have already ruled that credit card points are a benefit, not a income. So,
Okay.
so you get you get $225 of travel for tax free. That's the 1-2 punch.
So
Okay.
with this
Yeah,
with the CSR,
we both have questions. Yeah.
yeah.
You go first. You go first.
So with
Yeah.
the CSR card, what's the normal percentage on there? Is that like a 1.5% or is that so that's the same? So there's
No, it's
really,
a 1 point. It's a 1 point. So
Okay,
yeah,
so
so that's why you
1%.
transfer.
I was-
Otherwise
I
you
was
don't
not-
use it. So don't use it for
Yes.
purchases. Use
Yes.
the other card for purchases, but just use it to transfer points and rack up the points
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah, and I'm gonna
Okay.
earlier in this conversation I talked about, hey, there's some people who want like only 1 or 2 cards. That would be
Yeah.
the 1 or 2 cards. Let's call that like the light group. Now we're gonna talk about what we're gonna do and what I would most recommend for most dentists, which is gonna be like a standard group. And then there's
Okay.
what I do, which is like heavy, which is like 20
Yeah.
plus cards, right? So we're gonna go from the light group to the standard group to answer your question a little bit, which is some cards have bonuses on certain kinds of spend, right? So the Chase Sapphire Reserve, I will use that card on restaurants because it gets a 3x bonus.
Jeez.
So if I spend $10,000 on restaurants over the course of, let's say, a year, I'm actually getting 30,000 points. Now,
Okay.
those 30,000 points are not worth $300 because there's a 50% bonus on the redemption. They're worth $450.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm following. Yep.
if that makes sense, this is where you start adding in other cards, and ideally they have no annual fees. No, they're just free cards that have bonuses. And if you can keep it all in your head, you can be like, this card is for gas because it gets me 2x. This card is for restaurants because it gets me 3x. This card is for example, the Chase Ink Cash. That card gets 5x points at office supply stores. So if I go and because I flip homes, if I'm going to go and spend a lot of money at Home Depot, I'm going to figure out, put it in my cart, figure out it's going to be $2,200. Okay. Well, I'm going to take my Chase Ink cash card, and I'm going to go to Office Depot, buy $2,200 worth of Home Depot gift cards. And that's going to get me
Wow.
2,200 times 5, which is 11,000, right, points. And then those,
You're laughing, but this is really smart.
Yeah, this is cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so, I mean, this is all just spend that I had to do anyways, right?
Yeah.
And then those 5x points. So I got 11,000 points. Well, guess what? I moved those over um, to the Sapphire Reserve. And when I use those, now I'm not getting 5x, I'm getting 7.5% back on travel.
Yeah.
That
So
is
Yeah, so
super
it seems like in
smart.
that scenario, like, because we're talking about travel, right? Like, and if that's your end point, you're pretty much, are you basically using different cards and almost leveraging them, and then you're throwing them into the Chase Sapphire Reserve hub, right? And that, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
except for like restaurants where they would already be in the Chase Sapphire
Yeah.
Reserve
Yeah.
hub,
Yep.
because
Yep.
that's the best bonus category. So yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. For bread and butter spend that is not part of any bonus categories, I'm using the Chase Ink Unlimited. For gas spend, I'm using the Chase Ink Cash. For grocery spend, I might be using a different card because it, like on Amex Gold cards, they get 4x points on the Amex ecosystem. And then here's now we're going from light to heavy, right? This is from the like 3 to 4 cards to now the 20 plus cards. Is there are multiple ecosystems. There are 4 major ecosystems. Chase is one, Amex is another, Capital One is a third, and then Built is a very smaller fourth, but it is important. And so what I always recommend to dentists is, like, this gets so complicated, and this gets so confusing, and this gets so much, you're already busy enough and stressed out enough in the dental office. Like, don't make it too hard. Stick with the Chase ecosystem and maybe a little bit in the Amex, but don't, if you want to be like me and travel, like I used to travel 20 to 24 times a year, then yeah, you're going to go and use all the ecosystems. But if you want to keep it, kind of in that standard range where, a couple cards, you don't have to mess with too many different, do I use this card? Do I use that card? Then stick with Chase and a little bit of Amex.
Okay, I have so many questions. Okay.
Okay.
So let's get back to the gift card thing. Is that, like, you can use that pretty much for anything? If someone, like you said, you use Home Depot or you went to Office Max or whatever, and you buy the gift card, so then it registers as, okay, that is that
Office spend.
vendor. Yeah. It's
Yeah, yeah. So let's say you give gift cards to your kids. You have 3 kids, right? So let's say you give your gift cards for Christmas, right? Or I don't know if you would probably give a gift, but let's say you have a nephew or something, or
Somebody
someone
you don't care as much about. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody's like,
exactly.
I mean, Max is 3.
Yeah,
He's
you're
like, I
like,
don't know
let
what
me
to
just
do
give
with
him
this.
a gift card. It'll make it easier, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
if you go to Office Max or Office Depot and you spend on the Chase in cash, and let's say you buy an Amazon gift card,
Yeah.
right? The same thing's going to happen. So you can now leverage the fact that, hey, I'm already going to be getting certain X, Y, and Z products. Let me figure out where I can get the most points from them, and then I'm going to get a lot of extra travel because of it.
Wow. Okay, cool. So this
Yeah,
isn't like,
that's
oh,
moving
sign
from
up
light.
for, like,
That's
yeah, my
that's
like
moving from
version is
standard
like,
to
do you
heavy.
just like sign up for Southwest card and like get your points that way? Like that's like my like low version.
No,
This is,
so
like,
I
on
have
steroids. This
and
is
so
cool.
yeah, that is pretty sweet. My head's just spinning, so I'm trying to process. Okay, a couple things. If you went to your version, you're like, I'm gonna open up 20 cards, and I figured this whole thing out. Does it F up your like credit score?
Yeah.
If you like our podcast, check out Alex's newsletter, Just 2 Minutes. It's full of great advice, which makes sense considering it's her thoughts and not me sidetracking her every 2 seconds. You can subscribe at coupleofdentists.com. The link is in the show notes. Now, back to the pod.
Great question. So first off, you don't just go out and open 20 cards. Every card you open has a purpose. There is a reason why I opened up 20 cards, and I didn't open up 20 cards all at once. This is over the course of several years.
Okay.
So I opened up, let's say, this Amex Platinum because there was this elevated sign-up bonus that doesn't really show up as often. So an Amex Platinum, you can expect at minimum 100,000 points. Lately, because I think they've been trying to really push these platinum cards, you've been seeing anywhere between 150 to 250,000 points sign-up bonuses. And so if I got a special offer for 250,000, when I was opening up cards, I'd be like, okay, I know that these Amex points are going to be valuable in XYZ way, and I don't want to I want to share right now what how they're valuable because it is important to our
Okay.
Maldives trip. But if I did see that offer come in, or I found out on this website is called Doctor of Credit, awesome website, very bare bones, but it gives the greatest information without bias. And so Doctor of Credit might post out that, hey, there's this Amex Platinum 250K offer. Here's the steps you have to do. You have to go to incognito, you have to go to random IP addresses. So I know friends that would drive around town, go to different Starbucks or McDonald's so they
Yeah.
could find the correct IP address that in incognito mode would get them the 250,000 sign up bonus. You could just go to Amex and you click on it and it would say you're eligible for this kind of bonus. So they would drive around town until
Oh,
they
geez.
found it and then apply for it. That's heavy, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
what
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to is basically each of these cards was opened up with a purpose.
Yeah.
Now
Okay.
to answer your question, if you are leveraging correctly and smartly and responsibly, that means you never carry a balance beyond your statement balance. So if I have a balance of $10,000 and my statement balance is 8,000, I'm paying the 8,000 and that's fine as long as I have enough credit that my utilization ratio is not too bad. But so I'm not paying the minimum payment ever unless it's like a introductory thing where it's like 12 months of no interest. So then
Yep.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm paying
Yep.
Yeah.
then I'm paying the minimum payment. But otherwise, I am never paying interest to the credit card
Yep,
companies.
you're just
And
always paying off your
Yeah.
statement balance on it, right? Like you
exactly.
Yeah.
look, you open up your Chase account and
Or
it
else
says
it's
statement
probably like a
balance. Yeah.
wash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, a couple things I'm understanding is you're definitely an addict, right? But it's a good addict, right? Like you remind me of my friend who has a gambling problem, and when we would go to Vegas, he would always have rooms comped and all this. The difference is that he loses like $3,000 every time he goes to Vegas, and that's why they give it to him. You figured out a good hack to have that same thing, but now you get to take free trips to the Maldives. So
Yeah,
I
so
think
I mean,
That's
I,
smart.
I think yeah,
the
I like what
Maldives
you've
was a
done.
$25,000 trip that got on points. Um, my honeymoon was a 49-day trip that was around the world. We left Oklahoma going east, and we came back to Oklahoma from the west. 49 days, 10 countries, like 11 or 13 cities, all in business class. Was called the A&A Round the World trip. That whole thing was, if it was cash value, it would be around or at least $100,000, and we did it all on points. So, I mean,
Jeez.
if you're being responsible, you're gonna one have exceptional returns because it's basically free. You don't actually look for ways to spend money. You only spend the money you were going to spend anyways. So then you're
Hmm.
financially responsible. And then to finally go full circle and answer your question, I have over an 800 credit score. What happens is you'll get a card. It'll take a little bump short term, usually 20, 30 points, short term to your credit score. But then what happens is you now have additional credit in your like your database basically. So let's say if I have $5,000 of credit in my one credit card and I
Yep.
spend $2,000 and the credit bureaus report that $2,000 was spent of 5,000 available, I have a 40% utilization ratio, 2 out of 5. But
Okay.
Okay.
because I start opening up all these cards, what happens is now I don't have a $5,000 credit limit. Let's say I have a $50,000 credit limit and I'm only spending $2,000. Well, instead of being 40% of my credit utilization, it's only 4%. And now the banks are viewing me as a better person because I have all this credit and I'm being very responsible with how I use it. So by opening up cards, you get a short-term hit, but a long-term gain.
Okay. Okay. Question on this then too, because this probably goes a little bit more like the deep into this, but once you've opened like card 10 or 11 or 12, do credit card companies look at you and say Roshan is probably he has a cap. Like he's only gonna have $200,000 based on his income or whatever he has that he's allowed for credit. He's already eaten up 190 of that. So yeah, he can open up another card, but like we're not gonna give him a lot of available credit. Does that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's ways around that. So first off, there is that cap. But usually what happens is you have a personal cap and like a business cap. So I have a mix of those 20 plus cards that I have is a mix of both personal as well as business. And And so you get bigger and bigger caps, and ideally over time your income also goes up. So maybe like when I started applying for credit cards, I used to put my incomes like 150, 200,000, and I've been very fortunate that real estate has done very well for me. Now when I apply for cards, I say I have $1 million income, and so
Yep.
uh, it allows for me to continue to get cards, but still sometimes they're like, no, 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 we're not giving you any more card. Like this card has been gone through manual review, and you have to call in and see what's going on. And they say, no, no, you can't get any more available credit. Say, no problem. You have $20,000 of credit on this one card that I've already opened up, and I use very little of it. Go ahead and move $15,000 of available credit from that card to open up this new
Yeah.
card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can do tricks like that to still open up cards and get sign up bonuses and get more cards and have the right card for the right opportunity.
So like credit card companies, and you're playing the system and gaming it in a way where if everyone did what you did, credit card companies couldn't exist, right? Because
Correct.
they're relying on everyone else to pay interest and not do all that, and so they're more okay with it as long as there's not. It's kind of one of those weird games. They're okay with people doing it, but you can't have too many people doing it, right? Because
Yeah, and the truth is, we live in America, and America does not have any financial literacy, and overall, like the overall financial literacy is very low, and so I don't see that ever changing. Even if I go on a million different podcasts and explain all of this, I just don't see it changing because of our poor overall financial literacy. There's going to be someone who starts off with the right intentions and then ends up in debt, and they are going to give enough profits to Chase to then fund
Mm-hmm.
my travel. So,
oh yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's the same it's the same logic as like when we were in dental school, we had some teachers saying like, "Oh man, you guys are going to be screwed as dentists because now there's so much information out there. Everyone's going to brush their teeth. There's going to be no cavities." And it's like, no, that isn't going to happen. You could
Yeah.
we have the internet now with AI, like all the information is available. It's a whole separate problem for someone to actually like act on information, right? So I get your
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
and the more information, the more misinformation you have
Yeah.
too, right? So like you get people who are like against fluoride, and I mean I worked in Oklahoma City. We had tons of people that coming from rural towns an hour away, and you would see the people on well water would just have tons of cavities, and so you're like, okay, I can anecdotally say that fluoridated water kids are doing better than well water
Yeah.
kids. And then you have people now that are in fluoridated water that don't want fluoride in their water. So it's like, even misinformation is causing all sorts of issues. There's going to be no lack of people that continue to have bad habits, both in dentistry and in credit cards. And so I don't see me talking about this ever changing any sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so the 20 card thing that you do, because that's like you kind of dangled that as a carrot because I thought that was kind of cool. So do you use all those different ecosystems, like you said, those four different kind of groupings?
So I'll be honest, I could use Built better. I haven't really delved into that one, and it's really, really worthwhile.
Because
I've now,
what is that? Is that its own like credit card? It's like its
yeah,
own thing? Because I've
yeah,
never
and
heard of that one.
so here's going to be a little like an extra little dangle for you, just so that you know where heavy stands, right? We talk about light, standard, and heavy. So heavy's like more and more credit cards. So Built, you can basically use Built. I think it's $5,000 a month to pay off rent. So what a lot of people do is they will have either a rental property, or they'll have a different address, or they'll have a practice or something of that nature, and they're saying they're paying off rent. So Built allows you to pay $5,000 directly to a different bank account and charge it as a credit card charge, but no fees happen because there's no like Stripe payment where you're paying 3%. It's
Yep.
directly from Built to the person. So what people do is they kind of break the system. They have a different bank account that they themselves are the owner of, and they say they're paying themselves $5,000 of rent a month, and they're using the Built card, and they have this on an auto thing. Well, what do? They use the $5,000 to pay on the Built card to rent or mortgage or whatever, put it in their other account, move it from that account to their original account, pay off the Built card. But you can now use Built to essentially have a $5,000 bill on auto draft and get 60,000 points and actually have zero spend. So
Jeez.
There are people
Oops.
who do that, and enough people talk about it like myself, and enough people do it, and they're going to eventually close that loophole. But as of right now, they haven't.
Okay.
So that's it's an extra 60,000 points, which is going to be worth anywhere between $600 and $900 a year. So for me, I would just like the juice isn't really worth enough squeeze, but for certain people, that juice is worth the squeeze, and especially because it's a little bit of initial investment up front and then a lot of rewards year after year after year after year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of where you can get into once you start really delving into all of these cards.
Okay. So then with these ecosystems and having multiple cards, you have your Chase cards, maybe you have your Capital One cards. Are you ever like cross contaminating between them and like doing transfers? Like, oh, I have a bunch of points on my Capital One card. I want to transfer that over to the Chase, or the Chase Sapphire card or whatever. I imagine there's probably like a fee or something.
My guess on that is probably, we'll see what he says, but I think it depends. I would bet there's certain ecosystems that probably have like certain times of the year where they're like transfer over these points because they want it, and maybe they so maybe it's like time dependent too. And it's like, yeah, transfer it over now because now Capital One is saying, if you transfer over all your Chase points, we'll give you like 1.5x, and then you do it there because it makes sense. I don't know. Was I off or on with that?
So you guys are both really right, and then a little bit there is maybe a misinterpretation, but you guys are hitting the nail on the head because transfers are really, really powerful. But they're called ecosystems because they are individual and separate and localized, right? So you have one ecosystem, which is one balance, and you have another ecosystem, which is, I'm talking about ecosystems like actual ecosystems, like
Okay.
biological ecosystem.
Yeah.
You have one ecosystem which is balanced and another one which is a separate but also balanced in its own way. And they may have borders that touch, but they don't actually cross over into each other. And so you can think of Chase, Capital One, Amex, and Built as those things. They are their own. So you cannot move from Chase to Capital One to Amex, Amex to Built. You can't do that. However, they may have the same travel transfer partner. So, for example, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Emirates, you can move to Emirates from both Chase and Amex, but you cannot move from Emirates back to either Chase or Amex. So you can, this is where it's like ecosystems in one way, and then think of a mountain in another way, because once you go down, like a water going down will never go back up. So your tip of the peak is either Chase or Amex or Capital One or Built. But then if you're transferring it to a hotel or an airline partner, you can then only transfer it to a different one, but you can't go back to Chase.
Yeah,
Amex.
gotcha.
So if I move from Chase to Hyatt, I cannot move back from Hyatt to Chase.
Yep.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, so that's that. And yeah, if you guys are good, I can tell you about how to find cheap flights now.
Yeah, let's do it.
Do it.
Okay, so you have your Chase points, and you're using the 1-2 punch. You're getting basically 2.25%, 2.25% per dollar. And now you're like, okay, I have all these Chase points. Now what? Now what do I do? Do I just go to the Chase portal and book a flight? You could, but that's likely going to be very expensive. Just like if you just book a random flight on Google Flights, it's going to be expensive. So what do you do now? I have two major subscriptions that I follow, and I think the grand total is like $200 a year for them. But one is called Thrifty Traveler Premium, and the second one is called Going Premium. I like the premium versions as opposed to the free. Like I said, it's $200 a year, something like that, maybe $250, but it's a drop in the bucket compared to the savings you're going to get. So what you do is, in both of these, is you set up your home airport or multiple home airports, and then you're going to get flight deals every single day from your home airport to whatever location. So what I do when I want to travel is I actually don't know where I'm going to travel for the year. I depend it based on the deal that's coming to me. So I see a deal to Luxembourg. I'm going to be like, yeah, I've never been to Luxembourg. This is 6 months away. I want to go there. Sure, why not? And I found it from Oklahoma City, or maybe I found it from DFW, Dallas. And so I was like, I can drive to Dallas and take this flight, no biggie. And it's normally a $1,000 flight, but because it's being sent to me in one of these subscriptions as a flight deal, it's $450. So these subscriptions are not actually selling you the deals. What they're selling you is a service that allows them to locate the deals and send them to you if you want to book them. So they will be like, hey, you can find this flight to Luxembourg or Paris or whatever for like $400. Well, they'll say click here, and it takes you to Google Flights. And Google Flights, and then you find it on Google Flights. You're like, yep, I see it for $400. Let me go click it. Let me go buy it, and that would be the normal way.
Okay.
But since you're going to be using it with Chase points, you now, let's say you find this flight from Oklahoma City to Paris for $400, or let's say $500. Oklahoma City to Paris for $500. Well, I found it. I got this email. Now I went to Google Flights, and I did confirm that yes, it's there. Now I go to the Chase portal, and when I go to the Chase portal, I'm going to go and search for the exact same flight. And generally, about 80% of the time, if it's 6 months or more in advance, I'm going to find that same price or relatively close. Maybe it's not $500, maybe it's 520, 530. It won't be significantly different. If it is significantly different, I just axe it and just say, okay, I'll just look for another flight. But let's say it is $500, which happens most of the time. Well, now I go to book that flight on the Chase portal, but since I have all these points and I have bonus redemptions and things like that, I need to only spend, what is it? What is it, 50,000 or $500 divided by 1.5? It would be like 34,000. So I would spend 34,000 points to get that $500 ticket. Does that all make sense?
Okay.
Yep.
And so then that's how I find my flights. Is I basically, generally, when I was traveling a ton, now my wife and I are trying to start a family, so we're not traveling as much. But when we were traveling 20, 25 times a year, that's exactly what I would do. I would basically, let's say we're now in June. By June of 2025, I would already had booked January, February, and probably March of 2026, because I would have seen flight deals come in, been like, yep, I like that, find it on the Chase portal, use the points, boom, got my flight.
Wow. That's
All
cool.
right. That's pretty sweet. I think what I'm doing next is I'm going to take this podcast episode, I'll transcribe it, and I'm going to create a version of you in my chat GPT and have it run through a whole system of how to do this, like step by step and a checklist of it.
Yeah.
Well, so far it's been these are the steps: Chase Ink Unlimited, spend on Chase Ink Unlimited, move the points to Chase Sapphire Reserve, use the points in the Chase portal, and then have 2 subscriptions: Thrifty Traveler Premium and Going Premium. When you get a flight deal that you like, find it in the portal, book it with points.
Okay, so that's all travel. That's the flight part of it. How are you doing the hotel part?
Yeah, and the hotel part, now this is specifically for the Maldives. This is going to be the harder part, because the hotel, like the Maldives, points redemptions are few and far between. So on the Hilton website, you can go and search for, let's say, the Waldorf Astoria and Maldives. Normally, you're going to see point redemptions of anywhere between 1 to 1.5 million points per night.
Okay.
Per night.
Okay,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So you would need 5 million points to save for 5 nights. That's just unreasonable. No one's really going to do it that way. So what happens is every so often, in specifically the Waldorf Astoria and Conrad Maldives, both are in the Hilton portfolio, every so often they release another month of availability. And usually it's about anywhere between 9 months to 12 months in advance. And so they release all this availability, and you'll find widespread availability for this hotel with points. Then you quickly are going to book those nights, and instead of being a $1 million, $1.5 million per night, it'll be their standard rate. And their standard rate is going to be, now for the Waldorf Astoria, they just upgraded it, but now it's going to be 200,000 points a night.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So you can, and the next part is getting into how to make that 200,000 points a lot easier to obtain.
Yeah.
But you'd say 200,000 points a night. Now let's say you want to stay for 5 nights. Hilton has this deal where if you book 4 nights on points, you're going to get the 5th night for free.
Oh, nice.
And that's regardless of what hotel you're at. If it's Hilton, if you're booking through Hilton.com, and if you're booking with points, 4 nights, 5th night free. Marriott does the same thing. Hyatt and IHG do not. So
so in this scenario, you went from normally it's 1 million points per night to it's 200,000 points per night, and then the fifth night's free. So you got 5 nights for 800,000 points as opposed to one night for 1,000,000 points.
That's right. And
Yeah.
that's 800,000 Hilton points. So now we get into how do we get those Hilton points for less?
Okay.
Yeah.
And the key is going to be the second ecosystem that I said, which is Amex.
Okay.
So with Amex, let's say you did find a 200,000 sign up bonus with the Amex Platinum. And you're like, okay, this is great. Roshan said 150 to 250 is an elevated offer. This sounds pretty solid. I don't want to drive through a million different Starbuckses to find the 250. I'm good with 200K. All right, cool. So you found this offer you're happy with. You go ahead and sign up. And the sign up bonus is going to be like spend 20 grand in 6 months or 15 grand in 6 months and get 200,000 points, something of that nature. So this is only going to work if you have enough spend to justify it. Right? So let's say you now get those 200,000 sign up bonus points from Amex Platinum. You're like, great, now what? Well, Amex has a constant deal, like a constant elevated transfer to Hilton. They actually value it that way, where one Amex point is worth 2 Hilton points.
Okay.
So 200,000 Amex points is now worth 400,000 Hilton points. And if you're like, well, I'm going to open up one Amex Platinum and my wife or my husband is going to open up another Amex Platinum.
Yeah.
Now you get 400,000 points. You transfer it to Hilton, that's 800,000 points. And with and there's your $25,000 trip to the Maldives, which you did with flights for free, because there's always flight deals to the Maldives from major cities in America. Like at least 15 times a year I'll see flight deal to the Maldives for anywhere between $700 to $800, and you'll use points for that. Then you'll figure out your sign up bonuses for Amex to then move those points over to Hilton. You'll have points in Hilton, then you'll wait till you get your availability in Hilton to get the redemption to make this happen. So it is multiple steps.
Yeah. And that's fine. So you're not really ever booking your flight and your hotel kind of at the same time. It's kind of like, okay, I got my flight because there was a good deal, so we're going there, but we don't know where we're staying yet, and then it's like, okay, let's wait, and like, oh, here's a good deal. They have this like promotion, and then we do it. We all know Eric wants more friends. If you're enjoying this episode, share the podcast and then tell them to DM Eric so he can hit his quota of 1 new friend per day. Now back to the episode.
Because we had talked about the Maldives, I didn't really tell you about my standard method of operating, which is I'll find my flight, book the flight, and then I'll go and find a Hyatt in that area. I'll go and find a Hyatt in that area because Hyatt has the best redemptions period across all the hotel chains. Okay. What can cost 10,000 Hyatt points might cost 75,000 Hilton points. So like in an equivalent hotel.
Okay.
So I will find my flight, book my flight, then I'll find a Hyatt in that city and then book a Hyatt. And the easiest way to book a Hyatt is back to Chase. You just move your points over from the Chase Sapphire Reserve over to Hyatt 1-to-1. So if I have 200,000 points in Chase Sapphire Reserve, I can move that to 200,000 Hyatt points, and then so I'll immediately book my flights and then immediately find a Hyatt and be just fine. And Hyatts are usually nicer than standard hotels, so I like them.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think through all this, I think like the $1 billion play in this, and they may have already done it, is there needs to be a company that leverages like AI and they do all this work for you. And you say, here's all my cards. Here's what I have. I want to travel here. I want to do this. And it says like, you're going to spend on this, this, and this is how you make it happen. And then it like books it for you. Does that exist? Or if not, you should build it for us.
Yeah, go build it.
It does. It does exist in a certain way. So Point.me is like a paid in, I think it's called Roam as well. There's another one, 2 services, one Point.me and another one called Roam. And those are going to be basically you say where you are at and where you want to go. And they're going to scour the web and figure out the best transfer methods to get there, and how much that would cost. You can do it from business class, first class, or economy, standard class. And so there are ways to do that. Now, a system to do that plus add in hotel, I don't think there's anything of that nature. There's really websites like Aways and Stay with Points. Those are two different websites, and those are going to be ones that you can find hotels the same way. You put in a location, and it'll tell you you have X, Y, and Z hotels. Here's how many points. Here's what system you would need to use. Here's what transfer partners get to that hotel brand. And so there are multiple ways, but flights is its own thing, and hotels are its own thing.
But yeah, I wonder if there's one too where you just link all your credit cards in there, and then you've put all your cards in. It has what your points are, right? Because it's APIing into all those different portals. And so it's like you're pretty much uploading all the cards you have. It knows all your points. You say where you want to go, and it can just say, all right, then you're going to use this, 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 and this. You can do it here. You can run it.
And like, just take it a step further. I almost need it right before I make a purchase. It's like I just talk to my phone and say, hey, I'm at the gas station. What should I use? And it's like, oh,
sweet.
Bring out, this one has like a deal on, do this. It's 5X this month.
I mean, if Roshan was like your like
I just
AI consultant, right? And you could just,
I'm at lunch, I'm at a restaurant.
You just send a text or you do it like, I'm doing this. What card should I use? Use this card. Use this card. Yeah, that would be sweet.
I think we have the individual pieces of what you're envisioning. I don't think we have it all as one service though. But there are apps that you can upload your cards, and all your cards, all your point balances, connect the accounts and everything, and it'll like kind of categorize them for you and tell you, hey, okay, you can put in, I'm gonna go spend at a gas station. It'll tell you which card to use, things like that. But then that's not connected with the flight websites, and the flight websites are not connected with the hotel websites. So I think we're not probably not too far off from what you're envisioning.
That is pretty sweet. Yeah, because like what you're doing is awesome, right? Like you're gaming the system in an awesome way. I think where it gets more broader use is when you can lower the friction, right? And how the amount of time or in the beginning, right? Like you've gotten it probably down to where it's second nature for you, right? It still takes time, but when someone's starting out, it's that initial, like, this is going to take a while to do. But yeah, I think once that gets solved,
I'm not so certain they want to make it that easy, right? Because so you have to think a bank will actually put points on their liability column. And believe it or not, just like how dentists have to do their personal financial statement and give it to the bank every year or whatever, we have assets and liabilities. Points are considered a liability to banks. And the longer those points sit, the more they get devalued. So I told you recently that the Waldorf Astoria just got bumped up to 200,000 points a night. Well, when I booked it, it was 150,000 points a night times 4 nights to get the 5th night free. It means 600,000. So I only needed 300,000 Amex points. Now, for someone to do the exact same thing, they would need 400,000 Amex points and 800,000 Hilton points. So I don't know if they necessarily want to make it super simple, but there is one way to make it incredibly simple that works almost like the Capital One Spark, but not quite, and slightly different, which is the Capital One Venture X. So Capital One Venture X is also 2 points per dollar. Now, the cool thing is you go and you find a flight, and you're like, I don't want to deal with all these transfers. I don't want to deal with all this. It's like too much of a headache. This is too hard. You're like, okay, I found something on Google Flights. I'm just going to go ahead and book it using Capital One Venture X. Well, you book it, and let's say it's $300. Well, the Capital One Venture X has this feature. They call it the eraser. And so $300, they'll say it takes 30,000 points to erase. And so you can click on that transaction in your statement and say, I want to erase it. And you ask you how much you want to erase. And you just use your points to erase however much, or however the entire thing, or half of the thing, or partial amount. And so you get basically ultimate flexibility where you get 2x on everything. If you want to spend on travel, you have the option to then use the points to knock it off your statement balance.
Yeah. Weird. Cool. All of it.
Yeah, this is pretty sweet. It's very
so yeah. I mean, there's so much to it, and there's so many different aspects, and I always want to try to be like, okay, what do I do if I want to make it easy for someone to get started? Capital One Venture X is an easy way to get started. I personally like the 1-2 punch with Chase because it's 2.25% as opposed to 2%.
Yeah.
But those are very easy, simple ways to get started.
Great. So I just have to spend more.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I got out of this, was that I can go shopping.
No, you didn't hear the one part where he said, the caveat on all this, your core value is spend responsibly, right? Otherwise,
but, I mean, do you like pay your taxes with your credit card? I mean...
So here's the cool thing, right? Your taxes, you go to the IRS website and you can see all the different providers for taxes. The lowest one is 1.89%. I'm making 2.25.
Yeah.
So if I'm making 2.25, I'm paying 1.89. I'm actually benefiting by paying the credit card fee on my taxes. So
Thank
yeah,
you, America.
if I'm not late, then and I don't need it postmarked, then yes, I'll be paying my taxes with my credit card because of that exact nature.
Yeah.
And then there's two other crazy things where like one to make it simple and one very very like in the deep end. One to make it simple is if you're a high net worth person, which I hope most dentists are, and you have hundred to $300,000 in liquid cash. At Bank of America, there's this card that you can set up. I think it's called the preferred rewards card, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, where if you have a average balance of $100,000 for 3 months, so you can do that by having $600,000 for 2 weeks, $300,000 for 1 month, or 100,000 for 3 months, because your
Okay.
average balance has to be
Yep.
100,000 for 3 months.
Okay.
Then your preferred rewards card gets upgraded from a 1.5x cash back per dollar spent to a 2.625% cash back.
Ooh, nice.
So now you just use this card for everything that is not a bonus, like a
Yeah.
3x restaurant with the Chase Sapphire Reserve, and you're just getting 2.625% cash back. Okay, well now you have this huge check that comes in at the end of the year for, let's say, $5,000 to $10,000. Well, now you go and with your Chase Sapphire Reserve, you get 3x on travel. You book travel with the Chase Sapphire Reserve. You use your check that you got from Bank of America to pay off your Chase Sapphire Reserve, and now you got even more than 2.25%. And you even got more than 2.625% because you're getting 3x on the travel, right? So you're now getting between 3 and 2.625. So let's call it 2.7% back on your thing. That's the easy one. Now the
Okay.
dark one,
Okay.
the heavy one is there are people that will, and this is what's called churning. You open up a card and you're making fake spend on it. So you go and you buy gift cards, and they usually will buy these gift cards. They're going to be Visa gift cards, and they're going to be prepaid Visa gift cards. And you go and you buy, let's say, $20,000 worth of them. And then you're going to go to 5, 10 different Walmarts, and you're going to go and spend your Visa gift card for a cashier's check. And now there is some cost of things like maybe like 1 or 2%, something of that nature. And you get your cashier's check, you go back to your bank, and now you pay off all your credit cards. And you've basically, people do this to the tune of millions of points a month. So if you had millions of points a month, you're making, a million points is 15,000 minimum, $15,000 worth of travel. So you're making millions of points. That's $15,000 to $30,000 worth of travel. And then here's where it gets really ugly and really kind of sketchy is people make businesses off of this. They tell people, hey, I will book your business class flight. You pay me $3,000. Normally cash price is $8,000. You pay me $3,000. I'm going to go and take my points and book you a business class flight. But they did it off of churning, which they had no spend on. So now they're actually liquidating their points for more than the 1 cent per dollar that they would have been getting just getting the cash back. They're getting at usually 3 to 5 cents per dollar. So if they're getting a million points, which is worth $15,000, they're now making $30,000 to $45,000 by liquidating these points as a service to people to pay for business class flights for cheaper than they would have paid themselves.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
How's that for?
Yeah,
How's that for?
Jeez.
That's deep dark web.
Yeah, but
That's
that's just people. I
crazy.
mean, that's
that's cool. Like I'm glad someone's
you.
working.
But you like Alex likes that stuff. Your personality is you like when people have figured out a way to like figure out the system, but like in a smart way, right?
Oh yeah, if you're going to be smart, good for you. Like I don't know.
Oh, and I just want to say, by the way, this is completely against the terms of service.
Oh, okay.
Everything that you sign when you get your credit card is completely against every nature of what is intended for. And so the banks continually try to close these loopholes, but I mean, people are smart and will always find new ways.
Yeah. I'm not going to do it. Like I don't have time to do that, but
I know, when Dave Ramsey says no one's ever told me they became a millionaire over credit cards. Well, I actually know people who have. Yeah.
Well, he had one. Didn't Ramsey have
not
that?
The right way?
Yeah.
Maybe not the ethical
no
way,
kidding.
but they have.
What didn't someone post or say something wild? Didn't someone call into Dave Ramsey's show like a little while back, and they were a dentist, and they said like they were like $1 million in debt or something like that because they were an orthodontist or something crazy. And it's like, yeah, but if you're doing it well, you're an orthodontist and you should be making more than $500,000 a year. So like, it's okay to be in that debt if your earning potential is so high. So I think that's like I think his messaging is good. I think it just depends on the audience, right? And who his target audience is.
Yeah. I mean, I think financial literacy, like I alluded to earlier, is very poor in America. And for most people, they can't handle having a $100,000 credit line without blowing it. And so, I think his purpose serves his audience well. But for people like you guys and I, and hopefully the listeners of of this show, this podcast, know that there are better ways than the Dave Ramsey method.
Well, we saw what happened when COVID happened, and a lot of people got government money, right? Like, I don't think people put that all into savings. People spent, right? And so I think that's just human nature. So like you said, I think because financial literacy is so low, it's going to happen. So, yeah. Well, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
This was very eye-opening.
Yeah.
And very
when
cool
you have
stuff.
financial literacy that's low, the other side is financial literacy that's high, that allows you to travel to the Maldives or take a around the world trip on your honeymoon completely on points. And I mean, in my lifetime, I've probably had a couple $100,000 worth of free trips with just points. So if there's one end of the spectrum, that means there's another end of the spectrum. And if you can put yourself in that top end of the spectrum and do it responsibly, there's no better feeling.
That's awesome.
Sweet. All right. Now I'm pretty
Eric,
jacked.
where do you
Now
want to go?
Yeah, now I'm pretty jacked up. Well, I don't know. We have 3 young kids.
Yeah,
which
nowhere.
Roshan's going to understand now with starting a family that all those things you talk about
We get to
sound
go to
great.
Costco.
And then, you're going to Costco or on a family trip to
Target.
see family. Or
Sucks. Yeah.
I mean, I guess you can do a lot of trips to Disney, right? You can start doing that. You go to all the different Disney worlds across the world. You can go to.
There you go.
Yeah, that's your next thing. Cool. Well, thanks for coming
Yeah,
on.
thanks for
We
coming.
really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you guys being flexible, and hope there was some value here.
Yeah.